Okay. Okay. So what are we up to?
The Hatanya is
Right, Vatanya, at the bottom of, what that was there?
Mem Gimel on the base.
Mem Gimel Amud Beis. So it's about 1, 2, 3, 6 lines from the bottom. And we started off with top line was with Chistam Rav that said that it's only mutter for a Kohen to become tummy to a relative who is whole. But if he's missing a part, even it says later on, even Esem Kisori, even a small amount. So then it's not allowed, Kohen's not allowed to become tummy to him. The more with a brisa that said that he may, that talked about that the father was missing Esem Kisora, and it's mashma he was allowed to become tummy to him. And then the question is about being machzir to go to also be tummy on the Esem Kisora also. So the brisa says that he may. So the Moran says you're right, but that's Rabbi Yehuda, and like das Yachid, then Rav Chisda doesn't pass like Rabbi Yehuda. This comes out of Machlokis. Now we're up to the bottom 6 lines, and really it's going to be the same kasha over again. It's going to be another brisa that's going to say that it's mutter to be metame to a relative, even if it's not whole. And it's going to be the same teretz as Rabbi Yehuda. But it's going to take a little bit of time. The first thing is that this olive is a mistake. It's not for Tanya Rav Kana, because Rav Kana is not a Tana. Rav Kana is an Amora. Tanya Rav Kana means Rav Kana said over a brisa. So for Tanya Rav Kana, as some gears, like like Chavus's Gemara didn't have the olive, like already, they fixed it up already in the modern editions. But Tanya Rav Kana said over a brisa. Rabbi Elazar Yaakov, like that's not a regular way to say it, but the Mefarshim say it's like Lashon Yerushalmi that it means in the brisa of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. So it's the Tana is Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. He's the one who's saying the brisa, and he also says Lo Yitama, that pasuk that says that of the 7 krovim that a kohen may become tummy to, one of them is a sister, and it says Lo Yitama, Mitame Lo Mitama ve'enim Mitame Leivoreha. Only. Here it says so far also the same thing that sounds like only if she's whole, but not only to an aver. But it explains, doesn't mean any kind of aver. There are going to be some, let's see right away, there are some limbs that it is mutter, even though it's not whole. It comes to exclude 3 things. A kazayis min ames means it's only a kazayis, a little bit of the basa, very little. If something very minute, maybe at some kisora also, like we said before, it's only mutter because he already became tummy, then he's allowed to continue to become tummy, but maybe you don't mean any minute part. It has to be like a certain chashuva amount. But a kazayis min mace, even though a kazayis of the meat of the flesh of the mace does give off tumah, but a relative is not allowed to become tamei. The kohen is not allowed to become relative to the kazayis min mace of a relative. It's too little. It's too insignificant, and he's not allowed to become tamei. Also, kazayis natsal. Natsal is some kind of a liquid that exudes from the mace, and also it's tamei like a mace. But that's not the kind of relative that the kohen is allowed to become tummy to. If it's only the liquid that exudes from him, that's not enough. Also, Malotavid Rakav.
So he's becoming tummy, yeah?
He's not allowed to. Well, it doesn't mean that a kohen usually is allowed to become tummy to the 7 relatives.
Yeah.
But if this is only what's left of them, if he's only become tummy to Kzayis when Ameis, Kzayis not so, now what's left of them, that's what he has in front of him. He's not allowed to become tummy to something so insignificant. It's not called a relative, even though it is a relative. But it's a kzayis and it's kzayis not so, and a malot havid rakav. Rakav is the disintegrated matter. That's called rakav.
It says ve'enu matame la'ivra. That means he's not
allowed to become tamei to a limb of a relative.
He's not allowed to become tamei to
a limb of the
relative.
relative.
Then prat would mean that this is small enough that he.
And it's coming. And what I mean to say, it's going to explain that not all limbs are excluded. Only some things are excluded. It's going to give a list of 3 things.
I would think means excluding what I just said.
No. This comes to exclude. What I just said comes to exclude when I said any matama leivorm. You know what I mean to exclude? I mean to exclude kazayis min ameis, kazayis not so malot havid rakav. But as we're going to continue, there are some evorim that it's not excluded, and there is mutter to become tamei, and that's going to be against Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda on the top line said that even if he's missing any kind of limb, over there he said a head, but the Gemara understands that he means even if most of the body is there, it's not allowed to become tamei, like Rav Chisda said, and this Bryce is going to say that he may. So far, just says we're excluding a kazayis of the mace, a kazayis of the nutso, below tarvid rakav. Rakav is this disintegrated matter, whatever is left of after it rots. Rakav, below tarvid is a kind of a big spoon, like a ladle full. That's the shear of how much is in tamei mace. The rakav is not anymore basar. It's not basar. It's already disintegrated. But if it's a malot arvad, which I don't know exact shear, but it's not a spoon. It's like more of a ladle. It's a big spoon.
Okay.
So that's the amount that is tamei mace, and he's not allowed to become tamei to that of a relative. But you might think any kind of limb he's not allowed to be matami to. You might think even if it's the spine and the skull and to most of the structure of the mace, of the skeleton, most of the skeleton, or rov minyana means most of the limbs. If they are 248, so 125 is going to be the rov. Even if it's small limbs, but if it's more than 125, it's more than 124. It's 125. It's already going to be the rov of the 248. So then you might think that also he's not allowed to become tamei because you need a whole mace. No, it says no. Kasiv v'yomarta alehem. Over there in the parsha where it says that you may not become tamei, may become tamei. It says tell the kohanim and more. That's the beginning of parsha Samov. He's not allowed to become tamei to mesim, only to the relatives. So when it says this v'yomarta alehem, it's coming to it's a ribu, it's an extra word that's coming to say that sometimes he is allowed to become tamei to even a chelik of a relative. That is saying that he is allowed to become tamei to something significant, and that's called the spine, the skull, the rov of the structure, rov of the number of the Avrohom. So this already is going to be against Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda on the top line said,
Minyan is the bones, right?
Minyan of the bones, right? Binyan of the bone, and minyan of the bones. That the bones means not bones as much as the Avrohom. The 248 Avrohom.
Flesh or
No, so Avrohom always has a bone. Aver is going to have basa, vegidim, vatsamos. But you're right that here we're talking about probably the bones and the rov minyan of the bones also tamei mace and tamei boel. And here it says that he may become tamei to the relative, even though it's not the whole relative. This is against Rav Chisda. That's what the Gemara is going to ask. Here the Brisa says that if you have shedri v'gagolas rov minyan, then he is allowed to become tamei, even though it's not the whole mace. And Rav Chisda says even if he's missing a little bit, he's not allowed to become tamei to him. But to finish the Brisa, then we'll say the teretz. The Brisa continues. You might think that this heter that it says that a kohen could become tamei to row to shed golas of his sister, maybe it's only a sister, but maybe it's not for other of the 7 relatives. Amrit, no, you can learn from machosa. Once you have this riboy by a sister, so it's who then the other 6 relatives also. Just like a sister, gufa totally bo. The Mefarshim, some Mefarshim say that it means that it's his responsibility to bury her. Like that's what we said, that these are the relatives that a person is responsible to bury. So since her body is dependent on him, and then we say that he's allowed to become tamei to these significant parts of the body, the spine, the skull, the rov of the structure of the bones, rov of the skeleton, rov of the minyan of the bones. So to any other relative that he's allowed to become tamei to, I've called shagufay totally bo, any other relative that is his responsibility to bury. To the kohen could be mitamei to them also. Mitamei l'shedro golas l'rov minyana. So a kitzur what did it say in the Brisa that a kohen is allowed to become tamei to the relatives, even though it's not a whole relative, it's not a whole base. And if Chisda said only a whole mace, even if missing a little bit, not. So that's the kasha of Chisda. And here goes the second same teretz as was before. Ahi nami Rabbi Yehuda. And this Brisa only goes according to Rabbi Yehuda that we said that was the first teretz to the kasha before that there is a Tana that says this, but Rav Chisda doesn't know like this Tana. And now the Gemara says, so where does Rav Chisda get it? Rav Dama Ki Haitana. Rav, this is Rav Chisda Rav. Rav is the one who Rav Chisda said in the name of Rav. If you scroll back a second, top line, and Amud Beis was Rav Chisda Rav. He's the one who said that if the father is missing the head or any other limb, so the relative is not allowed to become tamei to him. Mm-hmm. And here it says that so this Brisa argues is Rabbi Yehuda. Where did Rav get it from? There also must be a Tana. Rav Dama Ki Haitana. Rav posted the following Tana that says that if it's not a whole mace, so he may not become tamei. The Tanya, there was a place called Ginzak, which the Gemara brings down a couple of places that was very far away, and they didn't have contact. The father of Rabbi Yitzchak was in Rabbi Yitzchak was as an aside, maybe Rabbi Tzadok, a Kohen. So there was a place called Ginzak, and they didn't find out about it till much later. He found out about it 3 years later. Of course, he was buried by that time, but there also was disintegrated partly, and maybe mostly, maybe altogether, and the question was about Likrat about the bones, and the bones were there. They were all the bones that they wanted to probably, what is the word to say, to transfer a mace? What is the word called? Reinter. So he wanted to do that, and maybe Ginzak from Ginzak. Rabbi Yeshua ben Elisha, some of it gives Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. They came to ask the Dallas Zakenim Sheimo together with other 4 Zakenim. It seems there were 5 Zakenim in the place of Rabbi Yitzchak, and they asked if he's allowed to reinter. The Amru la'aviv, the same question I said before. Since it says the word la'aviv, is manshu shalim, the is manshu chaser. Only if he's complete, but not if he is missing. So therefore, since it was missing, it wasn't the whole mace, it was only the bones left. Even though it was all the bones, but it was missing basa, and that's considered missing, and therefore he's not allowed to become tamei to him. So there's machlokus now tanoim, and if Chista paskin like this man diyama that he's not allowed to, and the halacha, the Rif paskins like Rabbi Yehuda that he is allowed to, but the Rosh has a big machlokus, and the halachas like the Rosh that no, that's like Rabbi Chista, that if the father, the relative, is missing part, then the Kohen is not allowed to become tamei to him.
It's more machmir.
Right.
But you can move a mace from one place to another. There's no problem.
Just not a the Kohen.
The Kohen, here's the Kohen. The Kohen becomes tamei.
Because he could get other people to.
Yes, other people can do it. So when is it? So sometimes it talks about if it's considered a bezoyan to the other mason that are buried over there. What's wrong with us? Why don't you want to be with us? So sometimes there are considerations, but to move to Eretz Yisrael, then it says Shoya it's mutter, and it's other places to move him into his kibbutz avos.
With or without a tonight to move to Eretz Yisrael.
I don't think there's a tonight. I don't think the tonight is necessary. It says that that's considered that all the mason would rather be in Eretz Yisrael, and I think that it says that it's mutter. There's some places where it says that if he was able to come in his lifetime and he didn't come, so Eretz Yisrael says why wasn't that good enough in your lifetime?
Right.
Sometimes it says if a person died, then to bring him to Eretz Yisrael is not. That's a different midrashim say different things. But as far as the issue of moving him, so if it's a reasonable reason why he would consideration why he would want to, and it's not considered insulting the other mason that he was buried next to, so it's mutter, and they say Eretz Yisrael is mutter, and also to move him to a family grave is a plot is also mutter because it's a nichusa, it's a comfort for the mace to be buried near his relatives. And the Nefesh has a okay, new Mishnah. Shloshim minim asum, and also this Mishnah we had already, and even without the Mishnah, this is the Pesukim Beferish. It says there are 3 Yisum for a nazir to do: Atuma, Batiglachas, Vayosim, and Agef. And that's the Pesukim that he's not allowed to become tamei to mason. He's not allowed to cut his hair during his nazirus, and he's not allowed to have anything comes out of the vine, the grapes, wine. Now it's going to say interesting thing. It's going to contrast these 3 issues. Maybe I didn't highlight anything over here. It's going to say first, Homer betuma over tiglachas mebiyotzi agefen. Doesn't let me. This is going to say a chumrah of these 3 things. Tuma and tiglachas have something in common that's more chumrah than the issue of drinking wine. There's tuma to mace, tiglachas a haircut, and there's a chumrah that 2 against 1. Both of these have a certain chumrah, and the gefen, the issue of drinking wine, doesn't have. What is that? We could guess, but might as well do it. We know most of these halachas. That if he became tamei, he forfeits all the days that he had already counted. He has to start again. Tiglachas also associates a little bit, but it doesn't. It's not that we had already this sugya that when if he gets a haircut, even if he didn't, even if Liston did it, so he loses. How much does he lose? Maybe he loses 30 days. Maybe he loses as much as he had. What does he say? 30 days. Some say 7 days. But he was also something. He's also something. And Yotzei min hagefen, if he drank wine, doesn't lose anything. If he drank, he gets a lot of his chayv malchus, but he doesn't lose the count. We did have a drabanan that we tell him to abstain as many days or 30 days, but it's only with drabanan. But the rice he doesn't lose anything. So that's the first contrast of tumah and tiglachas, stronger, more chomor than gefen, because gefen is not associated with anything. The next thing is chomer v'yotzei min hagefen. Maybe tuma over tiglachas. Now we're switching it around backwards, the opposite. That gefen has something against the other 2. First it was tuma and tiglachas against gefen. Now it's gefen against both of them. Gefen has some chumrah that the others don't have. What could that be? There's no heter. There's no case that a nazir is allowed to drink wine. But there is a heter for tuma and there's a heter for tiglachas. Sometimes he's allowed to become tamei to mace. Sometimes he's allowed to take a haircut. What's that? Tiglachas mitzvah or mace mitzvah? That if there's a case to take a mitzvah to take a haircut, where is there mitzvah to take a haircut? By a mitzvah. A mitzvah, after he finishes his saras, so the Torah process calls for cutting all of his hair. So even though he's a nazir, we had a drasha for this, that he's allowed to cut his hair even though he's a nazir. And also a mace mitzvah, that even though someone's a nazir, he's not allowed to become tamei to the mace. But if it's a mace mitzvah, nobody else to take care of him. He calls out, nobody's calling, nobody's coming, he's allowed to take care of him. But there's no such case of drinking wine for a mitzvah. And this goes back to the beginning of the Masechta Daf Gimel over there, that it said that he's not allowed to drink wine for Kiddush and Havdalah. Or if he made a shvuah, he's not allowed to drink wine. It seems to be a fresh Mishnah. Rashi over there learns differently, the question in the gears over there maybe, and Rashi learns that he may drink the wine of Kiddush and Avdallah, and that doesn't fit with the Pashut Pshat in our Mishnah. Rashi over here takes care of that. He explains how to learn our Mishnah. But Rashi holds that the Nazir may drink wine of Kiddush and Avdallah. That's not the Pashut Pshat. But
excuse me, the Meglachas is because of the Mitzvah.
Right. The Mitzvah is when he's a Mitzvah, he's a Muslim, and that Mitzvah overrides the Isra of a Nazir. If he's in a Nazir who's also a Mitzvah, so then he's supposed to take a haircut, even though he's a Nazir. So that was the Chumrah of Yosef and Agefen above Tumah and Tiglachas. The next case, Homer Mibituma Mibitiglachas. This is one against one. We said before they were a pair. Till now they were working with each other. Tumah and Tiglachas had common denominator, both in the Chumrah then in the Kula. And now there's going to be a Chumrah of Tumah against Tiglachas, something that Tumah has that haircut does not have. What is that? That when he becomes Tameh, he forfeits everything. Even if he was in Nazir for 7 years, then it became Tameh, you got to do it all over again. But haircut, even though we say that it was so a little bit, it's also only Shloshim Yom. It's only 30 days in order to get 30 days of hair growth in order to be able, when he cuts the hair on the Tara process, that he should have hair. But it doesn't have to associate everything. And also, there's no korban. By Tumah, if he becomes korban, if he comes Tameh, he has to bring a korban on the Tumah. That's called the korban Tumah. The Tumah Nazir Tameh, he has to bring a korban. A Chata Sa'ola and a Asham. Over there were two birds over there. 2 birds and the Ale Asham. And here, and the Kevis Lasham, I'm sorry. And here, by the haircut, even though it's Sosa, it doesn't have anything to do with Karbonis. It doesn't bring any Karbonis. He has to be marshal in the 30 days to get here again. And then it'll continue with the Tara, and then it'll be finished in Nazir with a korban of Tara, not a korban of Tumah. So that was the Mishnah that it told us the 3 minim, and it said a chomer of Tumah Tiglachas against Gefen, a chomer of Gefen against Tumah and Tiglachas, and then a chomer of Tumah against Tiglachas.
And this Tiglachas, we're saying that in a Seseres Elishleishim, that's we don't mention number one. I think the she's 7 days.
Sometimes 7, and that maybe the Gemara spoke about it. I forgot the Gemara said that was only Achrim Los.
Achrim Los.
I think so. I think
you're right.
Okay. Now the whole Gemara till the bottom of the page is going to be questions that once you have all these questions, I'm not going to say on each thing that how do you know? Maybe Kal V'chomer. Each time you're going to say that there's a chomer against the Kal. So take all the chumrah of the Kal and make a Kal V'chomer. So that's how what the Gemara is going to be. It's going to be a whole, I think 9. I counted about 9, but maybe I got the count wrong. We'll
what
see.
do you mean make a chumrah from the Kal?
That we're going to, now that the Mishnah set up their chumras and kulas, right?
Yeah.
And then the Gemara is going to ask on each one, or maybe many of them, if there's a chumrah that the kula, that the Kal one has, so make a Kal V'chomer, that the chomer one should have it also. We'll see some examples right away. You'll see the point. So I'll try to highlight it as we go along with the regular system of the red, pink and the green. The first kasha is the tutar, the tumah, lo tutar mechlala kal v'chomer miyayin. We said
no. I have the tumah. No, thanks.
the tumah, the beginning of the Gemara, beginning of the Gemara.
Tumah. What's tutar? Oh, tutar is over there.
Lo tutar mechlala kal v'chomer miyayin. So we said that tumah is what the mechlala. We said that there's some case that is mutter. We said a meis mitzvah that tumah. The nazir does not become tummy to a meis mitzvah, even though usually he's not. The klal is not. The heter mechlala, huter mechlala. Huter mechlala means that there's a heter from the klal of the isra. Generally, is also, but there's a heter, and it says meis mitzvah. And the one is asking, say kal chomer from yayin. Which one is more chomer, tumah or yayin? The Mishnah says that tumah is more chomer than yayin. So, and if that's so, if you know by yayin that it's no heter, there's no heter for a mitzvah. So why do you say there's a heter for a mitzvah by a meis? You should say this part of the kasha. That's how we know that it's a kal and a chomer. That yayin is a kal because it doesn't forfeit everything that he counted. He drank wine, he doesn't lose the count that he did already. And over there, lo tu mechlala, there's no heter for a mitzvah. Tumah sheseseres eno din shel hutu mechlala. So tumah, which is more chomer, because if he comes tamei, then yamam arishonim yiplu, he loses the first days. So make kal v'chomer that he shouldn't be any heter for mitzvah. So here goes the answer. There's going to be each time that's going to be. It's going to be a kasha with a teres. The answer is Talmud Lomar la'aviv u'le'imo lo yitama. And the drush is going to be la'aviv u'le'imo lo yitama l'tamud l'meis mitzvah. That's the drush. The special drush to say because the pasuk says over there that he may not become tamid nefesh meis lo yavo. And then it says you can't become tummy to all these relatives, so it doesn't have to say that. Once you said don't become tummy, so that's it, don't become tummy. The fact that it says that there's a drush of each one, and we learn out that he could become tummy to a meis mitzvah. Next kasha. The yayin yutar mechlolo kal v'chomer mituma. Now go backwards. If we say that by tuma is a given that there's a heter for a mitzvah, we just said this heter, but the meis mitzvah. So now
Tuma is a heter for mitzvah.
well, that is meis mitzvah. That is not.
Oh, the heter.
It's allowed to become tummy to a meis mitzvah. So now I should say that the yain also is allowed to drink wine for a mitzvah and say ma tuma she so seres put your michlala yain she'ena so ser eno din sheyuta michlala. Which one is more chamor? Tuma is more chamor, that it's soser, and still it has a kula that it's mutter b'mokam mitzvah. So yayin, which is more lenient, that it's not soser, shouldn't you say that it's also more lenient that he should have heter for a mitzvah? We're doing the same thing backwards. Once we know as a given that there's a heter for a meis mitzvah, so we should say there's surely a heter for a yayin mitzvah, because yayin is not so chamor like tuma. So now, what? Yeah, kiddush. Yeah, let's say for kiddush. So now the Gemara is going to say the drasha that we said over there and the Gimel over there, and this is going to be the answer. There's going to be a pasuk. Yayin sheichor yazir. That's a yayin mitzvah kiyin mishus. There's extra pasuk over there to say extra time that it says something else to say that it's even also a wine of a mitzvah. So a special pasuk. So it answers that kasha. Next kasha. The yayin yistor. I'll get it back up again. Let's have to see what I'm doing. This is the next kasha. Yayin yistor es hakol kavachama mituma. That if he drinks wine, it should forfeit everything. It should cancel everything that he did already. This yayin yistor es hakol kavachama mituma. If we know that tuma is sosa, so that yayin, which is more lenient, surely should be sosa everything. Matuma shutru mechlala soseres es hakol tuma, which is very which is here calls it a kula. Tuma has a kula that it. Sometimes it's heter of a meis mitzvah. It has a chomer and has a kula, so we're juggling each way.
Yeah.
Tum on one hand has a kula that it's meis mitzvah's mutter, and still it's chomer that it forfeits everything. Yayin shalotem mechlolo lo kolshkein cheyistor. Aren't you going to say that wine, which is more chomer, the fact that there's no heter for a mitzvah, should it surely not forfeit everything? For that, we're also going to have a pasuk. Amar Kro. I missed everything up. When it says the din of losing his days, it says the reason is because he's tamid. That means only tumah knocks off the days, but the wine doesn't. So you have a pasuk for each one that wine is not soser. Only tumah is soser. The next question, yes.
The exclusivity of the pasuk.
The pasuk, right? The pasuk stresses the reason why it falls off, it forfeits the days is because it's tumah. That means only tumah and not anything else. So wine is not so.
Mm-hmm.
The next kasha is afterwards we could ask Chazer over all the psukim to know all the positives about kashas. The next one is the kasha. Okay, that's good enough. We should say now the haircut, the same issue. That haircut. We should say that if he took a haircut, he sows everything. Now, this the Gemara didn't say. The Mishnah, this is an interesting thing here, that the Mishnah did not say a chumrah of tiglachas over tumah. In our Mishnah, if you go back to our Mishnah, there was no such category. It didn't say a chumrah of tiglachas over tumah. It didn't have it. It had tumah over tiglachas. It had tumah over tiglachas. It didn't have tiglachas over tumah.
Yeah.
And the Gemara has something. The Gemara has the chumrah of tiglachas over tumah, and that is that barber, he has an avera. There's an avera to give the haircut, not only to get a haircut. There's an avera to give the haircut. And by tumah, there's no isser, no lav. Might be lifnei iver, but there's no lav of somebody to make a nazir tameh. If somebody threw whatever, somebody made a nazir tameh mace, there's no lav on him. No chayv malchus. But the person who cuts the hair of a nazir is chayv malchus, not only because of his own hair. If somebody else cuts his hair. So that considered a chumrah. Matuma shelo asuba mitame kimitame. So seres a sakol tiglacha she asuba megalech kemis galeach and adin she tister a sakol. By tuma, they didn't give the chumrah to the person who made him tamei like the person who became Tameh. There's a lav on the person to become Tameh, but there's no lav on the person on any person to make the nazir Tameh. And over there, that's a kula. But even that one is Tumah is Kal, still it forfeits. He cancels all the days if he became Tameh. So tiklachas that they did, the Torah does make an avera to the one who gives the haircut. So surely it should be so, sir. And this to us a call. And again, the answer is going to be Amar Kra, Yamim Harishonim, very similar to before. Yamim Harishonim Yiplu, Kitame Nizro, Tumus Aseres Sakol, Vein Teglachas Aseres Sakol. Same drush as before. Before we said that since it says Tuma only, Tuma Sos. That's the same thing as before. Amar Kra, Shonim Yiplu, Kitame Nizro. Because of Tumah, that's the reason. And here the same thing. So it limits it. Only Tumah, Kitame in Israel. Only Tumah is Yamim Rishonim Yiplu, but not Yayin and not haircut. Next question. The Tumah. Oh, wrong one, wrong color. Go back a second.
It's going to make other things tummy.
Let's see. Vituma Nasebat Mitame Kimitame Avrohom Mitiglachas. Why don't we say that there's an avera to make the nazir tame? There's a nazir to cut the hair of a nazir, but we said there's no avera to make the nazir tame. Why not? No, not a Kavachomer. Matiglachas shenos aseres shloshim asava magalech kemis galeach tuma shis aseres asakol. By between Tumah and Tiglachas, we said that there is a kula of Tiglachas, of haircut, that it's not so. It's only so 30 days to get the hair back, but it doesn't so everything. And over there you say there's an avera for the one who gives the haircut. So Tumah is more chomer because it does cancel everything that he did so far. So surely why does that mean not learn out that there's an avera to make a nazir tameh? Answer. Amar Kra. Oh, I'm sorry again. I gotta get the green. Okay, am I? Okay. This is the answer now. Amar Kra. Vitimei Rosh Nizro. Lamitame Rosh Nizro. Only the person. It says that the person makes it when he says it became Tameh, so that his head of Nazirus became Tameh. So it says Nizro. His Nazirus. So it's mashma only the Nazir has the Avera of making himself Tameh, but not anybody else. So if somebody else makes a Nazir Tameh, he doesn't get an Avera. The next question. The Tiglachas.
Yes, I'm
that's also the Tiglachas. No Nasabom Galeh, Kimis Galeh, Kavachomer Mituma. Let's say there's no Avera for giving a haircut. Who says there's Avera to give a haircut? He said a second ago, this drasha, once he told me this drasha a second ago, he told me that there's no Isser to be Mitame the Nazir. So there should be no Isser to give a haircut to the Nazir either. Ma'atuma Shiso Seres Asakol, Lo'osaba Mitame Kimitame, Tiglachas Enos Seres Shloshim Yom Lokolshkein. Tumah is more chomer than Tiglachas because Tumah cancels all the previous days. The haircut does not, only 30 days. So if we have a given that there's no Isser, there's no lav to be Mitame and Nazir, so there shouldn't be a lav to give a haircut. And the answer is going to be Amar Kra.
I'm sorry.
Shalom Aslam Galech Kimis Galech. We shouldn't give the barber the same mister as the, how do you say, the person who gets a haircut, the haircutter as the haircuttee. That we shouldn't make the barber an avera like the one who's getting a haircut. It's also to get a haircut. Is it also to give a haircut? So we say it is. Where do you get it from? Amar Kra Talo Yavar Al Rosho Kribe Lo. There's a question in the Gersa here on the side. There might be an easier Gersa. It says in the side, Lo Yavi. How does it go? Yavi le'acher.
A different pasuk.
No, there's a drush. The drush is that it says Lo Yavor. You could also create it Lo Yavir. Lo Yavir would mean not to pass away hair away. It means the barber. Besides that, the razor shouldn't pass over his head. But if you say the word, if you pronounce it Yavir, it means the person should not pass the razor over somebody. So there's a drush in the word to say that even the barber also, the one who gives the haircut, is also an avera. Next kasha. Everything has a pasuk. That's the answer to all the questions. There's a pasuk for each one. Next kasha. V'tiglachas lo tutar mechlala kal v'chomer mi yayin. Before the Gemara talked about also hotem mechlala, we talked about the yayin. Is the heter for mitzvah? Here we said that a haircut. There is a heter for a haircut of mitzvah. That was the point about the mitzvah. But the mitzvah nazir is allowed to take a haircut. And the Gemara is asking if you know that yayin is not. So not hotem mechlala. There's no heter of a mitzvah like we said on the first white line. So there shouldn't be a heter of a mitzvah for a haircut either. Ma yayin she'enu soser lo hotem mechlala tiglachas shesoser she'enu din shelo hotem mechlala. Here it says that haircut is more chamor than drinking because drinking wine doesn't take away any days, and the taglachas does take away 30 does take away 30 days at least. So whatever wine has, so surely taglachas should have. And if by wine we see that it's not mutter for a mitzvah, so haircut also shouldn't be mutter for a mitzvah. How do we know it is given that it's mutter for a mitzvah to cut his hair, even though it's a nazir? Amirachmana rosho, Amirachmana zakano. So that was the pasuk we had before yesterday, I think, that it says by a mitzvah, you should cut all of his hair. That's rosho, that's gano, veis gabos enough. It says, even though it says he should cut his hair, it enumerates his head, his beard. And the Gemara says, what do you need all these things for? Once he said he already cut his hair, it means everything. So the Gemara says that the word Rosha is coming to remember, even if he's a Nazir. Even if he's a Nazir, he also is supposed to cut it. So a special pasuk. But the Gemara brings here, if Amar Rahman is Zakano, you don't need that. That was a different Rosh altogether, nothing to do with the Nazir. So it might be nice to put it in parentheses. I didn't, I see the Rishonim were in Goros, it seems, but in the Gesos, I didn't find it to take it out, but the Rishonim didn't seem to have it. Or I just brought down the whole thing, but it doesn't really need that. It only needs Rosh. Next kasha. The tiglachas lo tistor klal kal v'chomer miyayin. We said that tiglachas is supposed to 30 days. Why it shouldn't be supposed to 30 days? But wine is not supposed to anything. So why should tiglachas be? Ma yayin shelo temechlala ein asoser tiglachas shochu mechlala ein odin shelo tistor. As far as we find that there's a chumrah of wine over tiglachas, that there's no heter. There's heter for tiglachas, the mitzvah. There's no heter for for kiddush, no heter for wine of a mitzvah. So if wine, which is more chomor, does not forfeit any days, so how come a haircut forfeits 30 days? The answer is simple answer. How do you know that he has to go his hair 30 days? Ve'inan gidol seyor. Well, like he needs hair in order to take a haircut, he has to have hair. So it's really technicality. It's no pasuk. Here the Gemara doesn't mean a pasuk. Here the Gemara says that he has to cut his hair. In order to cut his hair, he has to have hair. So if somebody cut it, even though it really shouldn't be source of anything, but he needs 30 days of hair growth. Ve'inan gidol seyor balaka.
Isn't that yayin? Where's it?
Where?
The yayin.
That's the next question.
3 lines from the bottom.
But Enan, I didn't hear you. Yeah.
Be'inan,
Yeah,
gidol
got it.
seyor balaka. He needs hair, and he doesn't have.
Uh-huh.
And I think this is the last kasha. The yayin yistar shloshim yom kal v'chomer mitiglachas. Why don't we say that when he drinks wine, he also should forfeit 30 days? Because haircut forfeits 30 days. Matiglachas shuchu mechlolo soseres yayin shalote mechlolo ein odin sheyistar. If a haircut, which is lenient, because there is a heter of a tiglachas mitzvah, the Torah does cut his hair, and still, and it's soser, it's soser 30 days. So wine, which is more chamor, that has no heter of a mitzvah, shouldn't we surely say that it's soser 30 days? And the answer is simple. There is no chumrah over here. There's no chumrah be'etzem that he has to grow his hair. It's only a technicality. He has to have hair, and that's why he has to wait 30 days. It's not a din. It's only a technicality that he has to have hair in order to take a haircut. That has nothing to do with wine. But wine, there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to take a haircut. Nothing happens. If he drinks wine, nothing happens. There's no reason why he should have to wait 30 days. So just to count it up, that's the end of the sugya. And to count it up, how many kashas did we have? Each kasha has a teres, that is a pasuk. And we could just count it through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, got the count right. And each one has a pasuk, just a chazer over. That how do you know that tumah is mutter for a mitzvah? For a mitzvah, because there's love of imo. Much for that for a mitzvah, yes. How do you know that wine is not mutter from mitzvah because as Yan B'Shach Yazim. How do you know that drinking wine does not forfeit all the days because it says only Israel, only Tumah forfeits the days. And the same thing for Tiglachas. You're not going to say the reason why Tiglachas is not so, sir, because it says everything, because it says the same thing, only Tumah is also everything. The next one was the one who makes somebody tamei is the aver on him. No, it's only the metamei or shnizro. Only the nazir is the one who gets the aver for making himself tamei. And the next one was, how do you know that it's also to give a haircut? Because it says lo yavor, and we read it lo yavir. So the barber is also not allowed to do it. How do you know that the mitzvah is allowed to take a haircut, even though he's a nazir? Because it says Roshov. How do you know that the tiglachas is supposed to 30 days? Because he has to have hair. And why is the wine not supposed to 30 days? Because he has hair.
Wasn't one of them without a pasuk? No?
Yes, the last two without a pasuk.
Of the nine.
There were 8 and 9. 8 and 9. 8 was that he has to have hair. That's why if he took a haircut, he has to have 30 days wait because he needs to grow hair. And by wine, he doesn't have to wait because he have hair. So number 8 and 9 were without psukim. Okay, if that's good, we go to Talmud Beis. Tiglachas tumah. Okay, so now it's getting to the basic halachas that if a nazir becomes tameh, he's supposed to become tahor. He has to, and he wakes. He has to become shlishi shvi. He goes to the mikvah. He takes a haircut, and he brings kabbanis, and then he starts again. We had an issue when does he start? Does he start the next day? Could he start the same day? I forgot the halacha already over there. What's the process? What's the procedure of cutting his hair when and bringing the kabbanis when he was tamei? He became tamei because of Pisom, when Mace died. He has to he starts again. He has to be sprinkled from the paraduma ash water on the 3rd and 7th day of his tumah, and of course he goes to the mikvah, and then Megalech B'Shvi, he also takes a haircut on that day, and that's the first pasuk. That's to read the pasuk a second. The pasuk says that if he becomes tamei, it says that he should cut his hair on the day that he becomes, on the 7th day. The pasuk doesn't speak out that he has to have paraduma the 3rd and 7th. We know every time his tamei mace has to have that, and it says he cuts his hair on the 7th day, and on the 8th day he brings the kabbanis. That's what the pasuk says inside. So it says here, what do? He gets sprinkled on with the paraduma ashes 3rd and 7th day, and he goes to the mikvah, of course, and then he takes a haircut also on the 7th day, and maybe kabbanos of Bishmini, and he brings the kabbanos on the 8th day. That's the pasuk so far. Put a period over there. Bishmini. That's the Bishmini. That's the pasuk. What about a new case in Gilach Bishmini? Let's say he didn't take a haircut on the 7th day. He was supposed to take a haircut on the 7th day. He didn't. Took it on the 8th day. Does that also push off that he can't bring the kabbanos till the next day? Till the 9th day? No, maybe kabbanos of Obiyom. He can bring the kabbanos also on the same day. He should have taken a haircut on the 7th and put the kabbanos on the 8th. But if he took a haircut on the 8th day, he also can bring the kabbanos the same day. By Masorah, we know that it's not so. Masorah also, he has to have a 7-day waiting process in the process of becoming tohar, and he takes a haircut on the 7th day, and he brings the kabbanos on the 8th day. And over there, if he took a haircut on the 8th day, he has to wait till the 9th day. So what's the difference between a nazir and a mitzvah? How come by a nazir you're saying that it's different? If you took a haircut on the 8th day, you can still bring the kabbanos the same day. Amalei Bekiva answered Rabbi Tarfon's question. Rabbi Tarfon was challenging him. Amalei Bekiva said, there's a difference. The nazir, it just takes 7 days to become Torah. He became Torah. So there's no reason, even though he didn't cut his hair, that's a side thing. It doesn't affect the process. And therefore, he could bring the kabbanos the 8th day also. But Mitzorah, the Mitzorah, he doesn't become Tohar until he takes the haircut. The haircut is part of the process of him becoming Tohar. And therefore, he can't go to the mikvah until his mikvah is not worth anything until he has the haircut. And made him maybe korban elam can know more of shemesh. He can't bring the korban elam if he had hair of shemesh, which means that after he went to the mikvah, the sun down. But if he didn't take haircut on the 7th day, so his mikvah was nothing, and he has to, if he took haircut on the 8th day, then he goes to the mikvah on that day, and he's not going to be hair of shemesh. Right, he's not going to have hair of shemesh until the 9th day. Has to bring the korbanos on the 9th day. Again, he's supposed to take haircut on the 7th day, and he'll be already hair of shemesh on the 8th day, and then he'll be able to bring the korban. But if he didn't go take a haircut, so his mikvah that he did on the 7th day didn't count, he didn't become tahor. So if he took a haircut on the 8th day, he'll go to the mikvah that day, and then it'll still be a full yom. He won't be Erev Shemesh until that evening. So he won't be able to be the Kavanas until the 9th day.
Okay.
So the question is, so that was Rabbi Kiva said something, Rabbi Tarfon asked the kasha, Rabbi Kiva answered him. But he doesn't say, if Rabbi Tarfon says very good, it doesn't say in the Mishnah, Rabbi Tarfon agreed. That's the worst question. Kibla minei lo, did Rabbi Tarfon agree to Rabbi Kiva's answer? Tashma, the Tani Hillel, Gilach b'shmini, this is one of Nazir, Gilach b'shmini, maybe Kovanos of B'shi, still one of Nazir, and here it says that somebody says he has to wait for the 9th day, that means somebody's talking. Who's this Mandiyama? And if you say Rabbi Tarfon agreed to Rabbi Kiva, there is no such Mandiyama. This Bryce says, even by a Nazir, he's postponed the day. If he took haircut on the 8th day, he has to wait till the 9th day. So it seems like he's arguing. He's talking that if Rabbi Tarfon agreed to Rabbi Kiva, so there is no such Mandiyama. And the Bryce that says that he agrees on the 9th day is nobody. It must be Rabbi Tarfon did not agree to Rabbi Kiva. Amar Rabba lo kasha. No, it could be that Rabbi Tarfon agreed, and he could take a haircut. If he took a haircut on the 8th, he could be the Kavanas on the 8th. What does this Bryce say? The Taval B'Shvi, the Lo Taval B'Shvi. That the case is that not only that he took a haircut on the 8th day, he also didn't go to the mikveh even on the 7th day. It doesn't, when it says Gilach B'Shmini, it also means to say he also went to the mikveh on the Shmini. But if he would have gone to the mikveh on the 7th day, even though the haircut was not till the 8th day, he would agree to Rabbi Akiva that he could bring the Kavanas the same day. Because the mikveh you do have to have. We'll stop over here if that's good. Even though it's a couple of lines left. We'll do that's the next
Thursday.
So if that's okay, for Thursday, right. By then I'll talk to my Chavrusa and I'll explain it to me. I didn't get it. So
Okay, Freilich Hapurim.
everybody. Thank you. Chag Sameach, Purim Sameach.